Yep, I faked phone sex.
I've faked real sex.
Well, I haven't. Aiden and my sex life is the most honest thing about us.
Oh, yes, that is actually all worthy.
Hello, lovers. Welcome back to And Just Like That, The Writer's Room, the official companion podcast of And Just Like That from Max. I'm Michael Patrick King, writer, director, and executive producer of And Just Like That, and I'm excited to welcome you all back to Season 3, Episode 1, Outlook Good, written and directed by Michael Patrick King. I always think deciding what goes into a season of television is like a very long and exciting road trip in a car. So you know the beginning destination, you know where you started, and you have a very good idea of where you're going to. But all the side trips and all the attractions and all the restaurants you choose and all the little places you decide to surprisingly suddenly go is based on who's in the car with you. So you better have some really exciting, fun, creative people in that car. And I have been blessed to have an amazing car full of people. The writers for And Just Like That Season 3 are Julie Rottenberg, Elisa Zuritsky, Susan Fales-Hill, Samantha Irby, Lucas Froelich, and Rachel Palmer. And today, to discuss the very first episode, I have in the car with me executive producer Julie Rottenberg.
Hi.
Executive producer Elisa Zuritsky.
Hello.
And co-executive producer Samantha Irby.
Hello.
How's the car feel right now?
Oh my God. I love that
Is it
image
too
of us.
Good.
Should we
What are
open-
we listening to?
It's an
Is the
EV.
real question.
Yeah, what is the soundtrack? Well, I'll tell you what I think the opening soundtrack for Season 3 is. The end of Season 2. I remember when we were ending Season 2, we were all together in New York in my apartment. We were having a meeting, and I remember I asked everybody, what exactly did Carrie agree to in her deal with Aidan? Because if you remember, at the end of Season 2, Aidan had a terrible family calamity. He had to go home because his youngest son, Wyatt, got into a car crash and was drunk, and so he felt he was negligent and left, right?
Yes.
So now he begged her to wait for how long?
5
years.
years.
5 years. 5 years.
Interminably
just 5
long
years.
years.
5 years.
Not a
Give or
big deal.
The ultimatum heard round the world. People are like, 5 years?
Well, we all had a different. The question you asked, what did she agree to,
Right,
was
Julie.
a perfect question because we all had a different idea.
Right. What did you think it was, Julie?
I felt maybe because I am also a parent who I confess I have occasionally gone off the deep end out of concern for any one of my two children. To me, it was a panicked moment for Aidan, and he was doing whatever he had to do to make himself feel better and feel better about the fact that he wasn't there for that horrible, horrible night with his kid.
Right.
So to me, I felt like Carrie, and I think it speaks well of her, although maybe I'm alone in that. The fact that
Yeah, you're the only one in the world.
that she was willing to say whatever she needed to say to make him feel heard and to stay in this relationship with him.
And keep moving forward. Elisa, what do you think she agreed to?
I think she agreed to back off and have no needs for a while, for a long while.
Uh-huh. Great.
And the no contact thing, yeah, I also didn't quite buy it.
Well, even she didn't buy it because in
yeah,
the very last scene of Season 2, Seema says, so what, we have to wait 5 years? And she says, maybe I'll get some time off for good behavior. So she's already
I think I was in
modulating the time frame. But you were like, no communication, she's
no
fine with.
communication and be faithful to me.
Yeah,
wait for me.
Yeah, wait
as
for
if,
me. That's the
as
line.
if I'm going to prison and you are out in the world, but you are still mine.
Okay, Samantha, what do you think?
I, as a non-parent, at least biologically, I'm going to take the single person point of view and say that I thought she was saying whatever she could to like get him out of the house happily, and that later she would look for the loophole. Or at least that was my hope, was that it was like 5 years, but not 5 chaste years waiting for you to come back.
There's the word, because I remember you said, oh, no, she didn't agree to not have sex with anybody else.
Oh, yeah. No, not at all.
And I, inside Aidan's head, thought that's exactly what he was asking her. Wait for me. Like it's Camelot. Or
yes.
Oh, I'm sure that's what he was asking her for, but I did not believe she was going to give that to him.
Like a sailor going off to war in World War II. Yeah.
Yeah, well, wait for me means wait for me, don't marry anyone else, keep me in your heart, or don't touch yourself or anybody else for 5 years.
Yeah.
Yourself is probably okay, but nobody else.
Right, nobody else. Well, we'll find out if she touched herself in this episode. But, hey, by the way, everybody who's listening, if you haven't yet seen the first episode called Outlook Good, which comes from the Magic 8 Ball, Outlook Good, we were hopefully projecting Carrie's opinion in that title, The Outlook's Good. Don't listen to this podcast because there's going to be spoilers in it, as there should be, because this is a wrap-up of what we thought.
But go watch the episode and then listen to
and then come back. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So Carrie starts the episode in her Gramercy house life. Now, we knew when we did season 2 that her moving into Gramercy was going to be a thing. But what we did in season 3 was we really moved her into Gramercy. We are starting upstairs, which we have never been, with her in her beautiful disarray of a house. It's unpacked. It's not organized. It's exploding.
Open.
It's possibility, but it's not realized.
And it's fucking huge.
Yeah, it is thrillingly huge. My analogy when we were talking to Miguel, the designer, was Carrie's in a white Gothic dollhouse alone. And like just her little body moving around this house is so poetic, and it's a big empty house that she's holding for the future. But in the moment, she's sort of starting romantic, you know?
I just want to point out, we all live in New York where real estate is very expensive. So to anyone who has a home in New York, that is huge.
It's a mansion.
It's giant.
And
maybe
I want to
for
point
the
out
rest of the world, it's not.
And I want to point out to everyone, this is not reality.
Right.
This is aspirational.
It's a fantasy life.
Touching reality. I mean, we wanted to give her the most beautiful, beautiful house. Empty.
And also the fantasy that she had of living there with Aidan and his
And
3
his children,
boys. We
eventually.
wanted to underscore
Yeah.
that is not what is happening.
So the very, very opening of this season is really romantic. She's writing a postcard from an old time, a time before people made deals like I'll see you in 5 years, don't have sex. She's writing an old Gramercy postcard. But Carrie's decided to do her best. I think she's shouldering her best adult self here, her best wishes, don't you?
Yeah, 100%. I also just want to say that back to the car ride that you mentioned in the beginning. We know where we're starting and we know basically where we're going. But one of my favorite parts of writing the show is the very first day hearing like the images that have come to your mind. And because the new spine of the show is like all built around Michael's like an oracle having visions. No, it's true. It's true. It's fascinating.
It is real.
One of the most, clear images you had was these postcards.
Yeah.
And it's and then we get to all jump in and talk about the postcards. Even that was a conversation.
Yeah, but we all get to jump in with our ideas on our all individual oracles of like what I've been thinking of since we last left. I mean, that's what makes the car ride exciting, is that people are like, we have to stop at a lesbian bar for Miranda. Immediately. So you see Carrie leaving this gorgeous Gothic experience. She couldn't look more romantic. I mean, her dress is translucent. You can see through it. She has flowers in her pockets. She's coming down this stair with these gas lights, and it's all very beautiful. And we then smash to Chapel Roan, Hot to Trot. And it's really interesting because we had this idea. Hot to go, sorry. There you go. Hot to Trot.
Good thing you have a youngin'.
The car just hit a bump.
I was going to say.
Oops, almost a flat tire, but not really because
Sam's the kid in the backseat going,
it's hot to go. Hot to go.
No, I'm the
wasn't going to
backseat
correct
driver.
you.
Of
No,
course.
I was going to leave that to
I was
Anyway.
scared because I'm
Look,
not.
whenever you're
I'm too old to know.
we're filming these about 7 months before you see them. So this song at that point was very, very, very right now. And when it came to the editing process, we were discussing with Stephanie, who is our music supervisor, should we replace it? And she was like, in a queer bar, in a lady bar, Hot to Go will be playing from now until to the big blast. It will just never stop playing. So we decided it was a feast that's always going to play. So we see Miranda for the first time. Now, Miranda's single.
And we were excited to start Miranda. She's been through a lot. Let's face it, the last 2 seasons, it's been, she's talk about her journey has been manifold.
I mean, by design, we gave her a very rough road. And
we wanted to start her out with a clean, exciting, all the possibilities are in front of her. Fun, cool, sexy bar scene.
But of course, what I love most about it is she's uncomfortable.
She's Miranda.
Right.
We were all excited to see Miranda is a dater again. She started as a dater.
It's true.
Now she's a dater again. She's looking for women, we think, or she thinks. And yeah, it was just fun to see Miranda, the dater, at kind of ground zero again.
And also to see Charlotte, the friend of the dater, saying she's cute, she's cute. I mean, like it doesn't, there's still the essence. Carrie's sort of there holding court, like I'm the good friend who came. Charlotte's the cheerleader for whoever
comes along
that she thinks is fun. And then Miranda's like the tourist, speaking of a car
the
trip.
Insecure, know.
Yeah.
And also it was a great way to show the viewers what they're thinking about the Carrie Aidan situation, because everyone had the same thought. What does that mean? What are they going to do? How is this season going to handle that relationship? Is he gone? Is he not? And to have Charlotte and Miranda with their supportive, yet you see what's going on behind their eyes, and Carrie's ability to, when she says, 5 years, like she doesn't want to talk about it.
Well,
she
the interesting thing
subject.
too is that in Sex and the City, at 34, they would have said everything.
You think?
Oh, they would have said to Carrie, oh, you can't be here with him. Charlotte, you'll never get married. Like that's what they would have said. And now they're grown-ups and they know really they don't, it's thin ice.
Right.
They want Carrie to be happy.
Right.
But we talked a lot about what they're not saying and let it play on their face because we didn't want to back Carrie into a defensive corner.
And when you've lived all of these extra years, past 34, past 25, whatever it is, you know that life is complicated. You know that you don't know everything. And they're just more of a respect for people's space to work things out.
Also, it's complicated.
What
are you going to say?
And they know what the bruises are.
Yeah.
Like, when you've been friends that long, you know what the rules are about what might be upsetting and what might be
Hurtful.
touchy or hurtful. And
I think, too, though, at their age, you just sort of change, maybe not what you put up with, but what things look like. There's no rush anymore.
Yeah.
And so it's like,
Okay.
all right, we got a few years to see what's happening. We're not rushing off to the next thing. I think it's like an interesting look, especially when you compare them today to them 20 years ago at like, this is worth waiting for. And I know, and it has been, and I'll continue to wait. And your friends are like, all right, let's see.
Yeah. And adding in that both Charlotte and Miranda have kids. So they know that life gets more complicated when you're throwing kids into the equation. So
I think it's interesting. And also the fact that Carrie, and Julie, you just brought that out. Carrie says 5 years, come on. That is a very telling sentence, come on. And Miranda sipping that drink and you hear the comedy of the, like, come on. 5 years, come on. Meanwhile, then Charlotte, of course, the what do you call it? The wingman, the wing woman, the wing person says there's a girl over there that likes you. And we see this very pretty woman waving her hand at Miranda, and they leave. And Miranda goes over and she's giving her best sexy smile. And then the woman says, Miranda, hi. So there's a phrase in comedy, our comedy writing room, which is a cream pie, like in the old 1930s comedies. Somebody gets hit with a cream pie, boom, right in the face.
Miranda
goes
familiar with the cream pie.
Yeah, the sexy
so
smile.
the
And now we're
cream pie.
back in Mirandaville. This could have been Sex in the City, a guy saying, freeze your eggs. Whatever they used to say to her that would stop her cold. This woman knows who she is, and she's who? Who is she?
Brady's former
Brady's
babysitter.
And we screamed
Yeah.
laughing in the writing room about that.
Miranda, hi.
Cassandra Walsh, Brady's old babysitter.
Oh, I know. I just walked over here to say, hey there, Cassandra Walsh. How's Brady?
Good, he's good.
Well, because, again, if you've had kids, you have a lot of sitters that come through your home, and you do run into them occasionally.
There's a sitcom writing term called pipe, which is exposition. It's called pipe because it's stuff you have to bury and you don't want to see it. And Miranda now has the ultimate pipe speech. She has to tell the woman, and the audience what's been happening with her. And so we wanted to move Miranda out of the brownstone and out of the relationships and into where she is. So the first thing, nervously, luckily she's nervous and just can't stop talking. She talks about the fact that she's in an Airbnb. She sold the brownstone. They got an offer out of nowhere. How convenient for us.
Oh, and we had long, by the way,
oh my
can we
God.
just time out?
Yes, time out.
And have like, how many days did we spend on Miranda's real estate
Her and Steve.
questions? Do we want to see them selling the house? Do we want to see Steve again?
Do we want to see her
wanna-
moving out? Is that an emotional
Is it
thing?
a
Do we need to go
thing?
back to that house?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, none
Yeah.
of these decisions, like when you
Are
hear
done
a
lightly.
little exposition, a little pipey speech, just know that many hours have been
Oh,
spent
we talked
to
about
discuss.
how much
Lots
the
of
brownstone
arguing
would have
happened.
sold.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
for-
talked
oh,
about
yeah.
how much,
Money
and
she
then we
had.
immediately
And then we're
said,
like,
well, we're
"No
not
one
going to
wants
talk
to
about
see real
no one wants to
estate."
hear the money.
Although-
And then Julie brought up the money about the real estate early. But the
Yeah.
reality is, the fact of the matter is, we wanted to move her along. And because Cynthia Nixon is such an amazing magician of an actress, she can literally make anything seem like it's not pipe, but it's just fun,
Nervous chatter.
information.
Yeah, oversharing.
We also wanted to move her away from her past and into this season, which means we say that Brady moved into a loft with his dad. And we had talked a lot about her mentioning the other parts of her life, which were Che and Naya. And we always felt we would just move Che along, the way we moved Skipper along, the way we moved Trey McDougal along in Sex and the City. Their relationship ended, and it had done everything it was going to do for Miranda, which is every relationship in the show is only there to move that principal character
To
along.
a new place. Yeah.
And even within the show, the relationships within the women are there to move the other characters along. But we decided, let's just move along. Speaking of
also
moving along.
knowing how long it was going to be before we're airing again is also plays into the calculation of that.
Even though the time between this episode
Mhm.
and the last episode of season 2 is
It's like-
basically 2 months, a month. Anyway,
Yeah.
the thrust is the new Miranda energy, the new moving forward, back in Manhattan.
Starting fresh
Right.
as a lesbian.
No longer Naya's roommate. No longer Steve's wife.
No longer Che's significant person. So
Still
and no
Brady's
longer
mom.
going to be dating this woman who's
Right.
got a girlfriend showing
Right.
up. And Miranda, of course, goes to the bar and orders another phony Negroni. Thank you, Elisa.
Right.
You're welcome.
I liked it.
Elisa is
I
always
think
with
phony
the.
Negroni, by the way, is a brand.
Yeah, I know, but you.
And they should, yes, be thanking me very personally
is?
because
Yeah, they
yes,
should be sending
and it's
cases
delicious.
to your house.
Well, it's just funny.
Okay.
And it's
I don't know if it's
great.
delicious. I don't drink real
Now-
or fake
now
cocktails,
we're
but
promoting.
I just think when you hear Elisa say she orders a phony Negroni, it
That's
takes
going
care
in.
of comedy and her alcoholic backstory.
Yes.
Interestingly enough, we started with the original three, and now we're going to go into this very opening night. We see all of the other characters. We see Seema. Miranda's left at the bar alone to order another phony Negroni. And then we come up on Seema in her apartment asleep, waiting, dressed in a negligee, waiting for a sexy FaceTime.
Now, this is another question we had because we knew in the long view that Ravi,
The destination.
the destination was not Ravi
He was going to be dropped off at the first rest stop.
the final. But we wanted to serve him well, and we decided like what's funnier than pairing Seema with a guy who looks the part and
Plays the part. But is not real.
That's not
I mean,
her guy.
we, quite frankly, we as writers, I don't think we believed he was her
For
person
her.
at the end of season 2.
I think we
sort of
wanted to. I think sort
Did
of like
we?
Seema did.
Seema wanted to believe it, but Sam, I think you need to talk about that.
I'm team everybody always, but
That is
I was
such a
less
crock, by the way.
team-
That is not true. That you've never.
She's the first one to pull the car over and throw a body out, by the way.
No, really, like the minute we pulled up to Ravi's house to pick him up, I was like, do we have to wait for him to come out? Can we
And listen,
can we leave,
I need
can
to
we
be
leave before he gets his keys and puts
I
his
need to be
coat
very
on?
clear. This is not about Armin the actor.
Yes,
This is
we
about
love
the
him.
character.
No,
This is about,
no.
I mean, you couldn't ask for a more sexy, suave person to throw out of a car than Armin. But the
Yes.
Ravi character, the idea that Seema, out of desperation, I would say, or need, or desire to move forward, attaches herself to someone that isn't quite right for her, who slings a lot of romantic bullshit at her and tells
I
her
wanted
she
her to be the star of her relationship show.
Right.
And Ravi is competition. He's hot. He's
Yeah.
a director.
And he's the
like all
star,
around
yeah.
the world. He's not going to be treating her like the queen.
as
she
we
should
say,
be treated
good on
like.
paper.
But it's
Very
a
elaborate
great
floral paper.
But as we are getting to know Seema, and, this is after we were only with her for 2 seasons. So we're still getting to know what her taste was, what her issues
Elisa, what do you
were.
think her issues are?
Well, I think in choosing Ravi or falling for Ravi, I think what we learned about her is she thought she was looking for a giant romantic. I think she had a very romantic idea of the kind of man she was worthy of.
The love of her life,
love
as
of
she
her
said to
life.
Carrie in
Yeah,
season 2,
and-
early.
And I think he showed up and kind of represented a very fabulous world and a fabulous, universe that she could be part of. And it's very seductive. A lot of women,
Money.
a lot of people would fall for that.
He's his own man. He's a big item,
Yes.
which is attractive.
But how much fun it is to see the reality of that fantasy kind of collide, and for her to learn, like, no, this isn't what I want. I do want to be the star of my own show. And that I think is like a sort of necessary little arc for us to see her go through. And
Right.
in a way, he was kind of, hate to say it, he was her Mr. Big. And now that doesn't fly, or that didn't fly for her.
It didn't fly for her,
Yeah.
which is a big significant thing, which we'll get to at the end. But the reality is, once we got into the car, slam, 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 seatbelt, 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 I knew one of the big cities we were visiting was Singletown.
Mhm.
We really had the opportunity to bring some single storylines back into this show. We have Miranda clearly single. We have Carrie abstractly single, abstract,
Technically.
cubist painting single. You can't quite
Single and
figure out what that
unavailable, right?
unavailable.
Yeah.
We had
Single
Seema
adjacent.
connected to this mirage, literally,
Mm-hmm.
and then it went away. So we knew we wanted single Seema.
Fun.
Yeah.
He wasn't the one,
Right.
and we had another road for her to go down, and it wasn't Ravi.
But it was really fun to actually see it play out.
Well, it was fun
Why
to see
it
how
isn't-
far she's going.
Right.
She's a career woman who's waiting up till 3 o'clock in the morning and
Yeah.
putting on a sexy
And
nightie
burning
And
her
setting her hair on fire.
setting her apartment on fire.
and falling asleep smoking
Yeah.
and burning her hair, and the comedy of the wound or the thing she keeps going back to is I almost died during waiting for a
for a phone.
FaceTime. Not during a FaceTime, waiting. She's not a waiter. She's
Yeah.
a doer. And I was funny because when we came up with the idea she burns her hair, I immediately was like, we're cutting Seema's hair. We're cutting Seema's hair. Sarita, do you want to cut
Alert
your hair?
the
We're
hair
going to cut
department.
3 inches. She's like, okay. Sarita's so cool. Like, Sarita, we're shaving your head. Okay. She's so cool. But we decided to make Seema available. And the way we did it was this elaborate Omar Sharif, Lawrence of Arabia, funny girl movie that he's in, and she's realizing, oh, this is fake.
And this sucks. I don't want to be in this. I don't want to ride sidecar.
The van.
and eating.
It's not
Yeah, I
even
don't
a
wanna be in a
sidecar, it's a
minivan
clown car.
eating
She's in a
sandwiches.
clown car
I'm not
with all those people.
eating sandwiches and drinking Sprite.
Anyway, but the
Right.
point is, we also started this FaceTime so that when we put her with Carrie at the top of this episode, Carrie is all sort of confident. She figured out a little plan for herself. She's going to decorate the house, big house,
Big
lots
city.
of plans. She's got stuff to do. As Samantha said, she's an adult.
Mhm.
She has a time frame. She's not waiting around. She has shit to do. So we have Seema and Carrie in Washington Square Park at graduation time, which is May. And I don't know, the city affects so much how we write this. I mean, you can't be in New York in May and not see.
Gowns everywhere.
Yes, and was
everywhere.
it
True,
you
cap and
who had
gowns.
just been in Washington
Yeah, I
Park
walked through and I took pictures.
and saw all those graduates, and
NYU,
it's like
yeah.
we have to
we have to do
to
it.
set the
I mean, and the
scene
idea
there.
being those graduates think they know everything.
Yeah.
And then you have
right.
two.
They have their little diplomas and they're proud of
and they're
themselves.
they
They think they learned.
They're hot to go. See how I learned?
Hot to go.
They're hot to go. But you have Carrie and Seema, and Carrie is kind of like, I'm cool. And Seema's like, this isn't enough. I need more attention. I need more proof. And Carrie at the top of this show doesn't need that. And she feels like she says that thing about
Yeah.
Aidan in her.
Yeah, she's a little smug Carrie,
Yeah.
which is rare for her.
Yeah. And then Seema calls her out like, oh, I wish I knew you when you were insecure. So it's really just setting up Carrie's sort of
State of mind.
state
Yeah.
of mind and belief system that everything's going to work out with this Washington Square scene. And they're eating sherbet, and Carrie has on, of course, that hat.
That
That
hat.
hat.
Can you talk a little about the hat, Michael?
Yeah. Look,
Tell me,
I
'cause we
don't know
know
anyone who knows
there's
anything
a
about this
history
show.
Can you
hats.
unpack the
Is
hat?
I don't have a suitcase big enough to unpack that hat. But listen, everybody who knows the show
Sam,
knows.
wait, I need to ask Sam because you weren't on set that day.
Neither
when
was
you
I.
first saw the episode, I would love to know your thoughts.
Well, I saw the hat on Instagram,
Thank you.
Okay.
Instagram.
whatever day.
Sure.
Like you guys were shooting.
Yes.
And I mean,
Every outfit.
I love Carrie's clothes and that she's so whimsical. But I really was like, but why would she buy that?
Okay. Now
I like that you went to why would she buy it?
Let me like.
Yeah,
I
try
thought
it
it just
on,
fell on her
yes.
head from the sky, as the Hindenburg. But listen, here's what I feel about that hat. I'm known as the hat killer on the show, and what I saw. Oh yeah, I'm known as the hat killer.
Oh, I know.
Oh, Molly.
So I forgot about that.
The point is, if you're going to wear a hat, that's the hat to wear.
Yes.
Eating sherbet, and why not? the beginning of this episode is all about Carrie making up her own rules and being an individual. She's not Mrs. Waiting for Aidan. She's kind of like going to go ahead. She's wearing the
She
hat.
thinks it's fun and
All,
funny.
It is
all I
fun.
know is I don't know where I was. I must have been prepping or something, but Michael actually called me and was like, "You're going to have feelings about the hat. So just like
But
buckle
like,
up."
this is one of those things where sometimes the hat is better than the no hat. Like the idea that Instagram shot went everywhere, announced, hey, they're back. What the hell is wrong
Sure,
with
it's
them?
like
or,
shots
ooh, I think it's
fired,
fabulous.
right.
It is shots
Yeah.
fired, fashion shots fired.
Yeah.
And I love it and I trust it.
like
and
a
in a
dare.
scene like that, when the dialogue is so fun and light and not dramatic, why not be at a carnival for a minute? So the other person that we haven't really discussed yet, besides Charlotte, which we'll get to in a second, is LTW. And you know how we on Sex and the City used to say that each episode had 4 braids? It was like a drama, a comedy, usually a sex, and a relationship.
Or a
girlfriend.
runner.
Or
Yeah.
a runner.
Yeah.
And so the interesting work relationship, we have a couple. We have Miranda at work and we have LTW going to work. And what we decided to do with LTW this year was to fully explore work versus home. And we had taken this big swing by having her do a film called The First But Not the Last, which is unknown Black sheroes and her celebrating them. And it was a film that made, and we had her PBS offer a 10-part docuseries. So, you know, it's risky to do basically a workplace comedy suddenly for
But we were
LTW.
excited. I'll speak for myself. I was excited. I was excited when Miranda went back to work. I was excited for Charlotte to go back to work, which she does. I was excited for LTW to have this great, delicious work cheesecake that she could.
We wanted to give her, we had planted in season 2, there were a few episodes that sort of touched on her documentary, and we had the workstation in her closet. But yeah, we wanted to
closet.
really
Her shabby little
her-
closet.
as big as a.
her cloffice, as a friend of mine says.
Oh, wow.
To really own her workspace and like really, and in fact, also in a bigger way, own her home space,
Right,
because
and-
we
and
also, the kitchen,
created.
the arrival of the kitchen.
One of the thrills of doing a series is that you just keep adding more reality and dimension to these characters if they're working. And we were like, let's go to their kitchen. So here you have LTW and Herbert's and the family's extravagant, modern kitchen that is
Beautiful.
just so aspirational real
Delicious,
estate porn.
yeah.
It just is. And her in the morning in that dark, putting on the Miele coffee maker and looking at her iPhone and a pink
Prepping for
croissant
the
box.
pitch.
I mean, oh, that's a life. That is a gorgeous life. And then to go into her work world, which is, she's so confident, you know, in the last 2 seasons. She's sort of on top of it all. And we were like, okay, now she's entering the workplace, but LTW's way with giant necklaces and amazing couture. We meet her editor, Grace.
who is played by the fabulous Quincy Tyler Bernstein.
And then we also meet the executives at Rain Barrel, which is the production company that is producing the thing to hand to PBS. We meet Cheryl and Isha. And, you know, look, guys, we've all had executives. We've all
We
had
wanted to make them
executives
smart and supportive, but to
with
get
ideas.
to get back to the cream pie idea, LTW looks great, sounds great, is great, and then they give her that, just a thought. Michelle Obama.
Yeah, I mean, you see on the screen all these very unglamorous pioneers from another time.
who are so unsung.
Yeah, and then you hear them saying, hey, what about Michelle Obama? But so we threw her a comedy loop, Michelle Obama, because Michelle Obama to us in the writing room is the holy grail of like impossibility, perfection, cool, and celebrity.
And both the most accessible person in the world.
Think you know Michelle Obama.
But
we all think we
the
do.
least actually accessible person,
Sure.
probably.
The idea of LTW having a very challenging, we'll say, surprising work life with new characters, and then the ties and the pulls to their home life. Come on, you guys all know this. How many times have you got a call at work where you're like, oh my God?
Oh,
Herbert
I was
calls.
going to say.
You mean how many times a day at work?
How many times? I mean, how many times during this podcast?
I was going
Yeah, I
to
was going to
say.
say, you guys are going to get calls. In
Michael's
I mean,
a
the
little
idea
too
that
used
she
to
gets a
that.
call from Herbert, which is important in the middle of her first pitch.
Yes.
And what does he want to know? Is he cool?
Is everything okay?
Am I cool?
Excuse me?
My campaign manager, he said I need to up my cool factor in my bid for comptroller.
Herbert, you are running for city comptroller. There is nothing cool about that. There's also nothing cool about you calling me when you know I'm in my important pitch.
Yeah. This is what the husband might think is important.
Well, if you're running for office, and we have that other thread that we're pulled from last year, which is that Herbert's running for city comptroller. And as she says, you're the coolest man ever running for the most uncool job ever. Is that going to get you off the phone?
We wanted to introduce Chauncey, who was going to be like a little pebble in her shoe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Chauncey is Herbert's.
Very, very forward-moving campaign manager. So basically, we've set up that Herbert needs to up his cool factor, and LTW has quite a obstacle at work.
It's like both of their lives have been kicked into high gear, and let's see how they manage it together.
Right. And so what the whole really reason is that women are asked to do so much more in relationships than men. By the time we see LTW cooking dinner in the next scene, she's already put together a cocktail party at the Red Rooster for him without even thinking about it, because it was either that or put him on TikTok. And the little kid, Gabrielle, says no.
Please don't.
So we see that she has a lot to do. Meanwhile, Charlotte's running her house.
Okay, I think in order to talk about this story, I just want to mention, because I don't own a dog, but
we have
my dear partner and friend Elisa certainly does.
She does, but so does your colleague Sam Irby and Susan Failsail.
Oh, I know. I'm in the minority. So there were a lot of conversations around dog shaming and behavior and judgment from the doggy daycare. I've never seen Elisa run faster than when she gets the call that's like someone has to pick Quincy up. It's like
By the way,
more
Quincy
dire.
is the dog's name.
Quincy is the dog.
That'll tell you the level of dysfunction in that situation. They named the dog Quincy, like he's a founding father.
She.
Oh
Do
my
not
God.
misgender my dog.
I understand.
On
Okay,
this
so
podcast.
I apologize, Quincy. Put that in the same file as Hot to Trot. Anyway, we had our own dog, which is Richard Burton, who is a star.
And we decided,
Can't get enough camera time.
like, what would be funnier than having your dog canceled? Like, wrongly, by the way. But we wanted to leave it open. We actually did have arguments about, like, do we want to consider that Richard Burton might have attacked this dog in a bad, weak moment in his day, maybe?
Well, yeah, I mean, we're bringing in yet another New York character, the deranged dog lady. Just
Played by
the
Nancy
woman,
Shane.
The woman who is just like, what's her problem?
Yes.
You know, like out of nowhere in New York, you're in somebody else's movie just by walking next to them.
Well, and Harry's saying, like, what is wrong with I feel like people have lost their minds right now in New York. I'm just going to say it. Like, we're all unhinged.
in New York?
Okay, fine.
I mean, like, really. I mean, and this is where we get to see Lily and Rock again for the first time. And the very subversive kind of thing we did, it's interesting what images do. It's just Rock breaking down Shin boxes, you know, about fast fashion being bad. And the idea that we sort of came into this season with Rock being kind of a community
Higher
activist.
consciousness,
Higher
you know.
consciousness. We're all in it together, community, we have to make the planet better. It's important. And then we have Lily in her full-on girl mode, you know, like just, I want
kind
fashion.
of bitchy teen.
I have a boyfriend. And, you know, the idea, literally the whole episode for me is Charlotte saying, this is a witch hunt. You know, I mean, you can't be more current than someone saying this is a witch hunt.
Well, and the fact that I was going to say she never doubts her baby, but she does have that moment of doubt when Richard Burton attacks the doll. And that's what we wanted, is God, is my baby
Have I-
sweet?
yeah.
What does she call him?
My sweet baby angel.
Sweet baby.
My sweet baby angel.
Over and over again. And speaking of the moment of doubt, Carrie has a moment of doubt. And it's because of the Lily story of going to the Metropolitan Opera Ballet to see her crush this dancer, this young dancer. And they all go to the Met. Now, first of all, we got to go to the Met, which is amazing.
Thrilling.
This season has so much New York in it. It's insane. I think it has more New York in this season than it did in all of the Sex and the City episodes.
Really?
Yeah. It's so full of New York. But the Met we had never been to. I loved the idea of Carrie saying something about the Sputnik chandeliers going up, because that's such a part of New York if you ever go there. So we contrived this ballet. We made this entire ballet. John Melfi, our executive producer, sort of balance to this whole ballet for us with choreographers and dancers from the New York City Ballet. They're all legitimate. And the reality is they all go to this ballet to see
The rehearsal.
Dress rehearsal.
Because we thought that's something too, friends and family, rather than you've never seen that before.
Well, and also to have the person who's going to poke the bubble.
The moment of doubt,
Yeah.
which is Anthony.
With Anthony.
Yeah.
Anthony serves as the other voice, the voice who is what Miranda and Charlotte are not saying in the bar.
And basically what the audience is saying, or what I think many of us, I'll put myself in the audience then, we're like, how's that going to work?
How are you going to be in a relationship if you don't even know when he's coming back? And if he has family problems, that's his problem. That has nothing to do with you. And what are you supposed to do? Sit in that big castle all alone and wait? Who are you, friggin' Rapunzel?
He pushes her.
In a way that it's like her oldest friends have learned all the pitfalls. Like they know her so well. They know I better not
Drive over
lean
that.
on this too hard because it'll pop. And he's like sort of new to being her buddy. So
Well, and he's Anthony, so
He's going to drive fast right into the problem with an opinion. The fact of the matter is, it's the first time anyone's challenged her, and she doesn't like it. And another little interesting side trip in this same scene is Giuseppe, who is Anthony's poet boyfriend, asked if she's working on her new book. And she says, actually, I haven't been writing. Now, we know that's never good for Carrie. She says, I haven't opened my laptop. The last time she hasn't opened her laptop was when she went to Paris in Sex and the City with Baryshnikov. It's a very...
You know how that ended.
Yeah. It's a very telling sign for anyone who's paying attention to the way Carrie behaves. She's put her thoughts away in order to be in this new head of house and relationship.
Well, and the fact that by the end, when Anthony says, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have opened my mouth, that she both acknowledges that bothered her, but also...
You're not the only one.
Yeah, that you said it out loud. And there's always value to that friend also.
That's right. Anthony pops the puff pastry of what was on top of this crisis for her. And she goes home, and for the first time, she picks up the cat, and she sort of feels vulnerable. And she's so vulnerable, she does what all rational adults do in a situation like this. She asks the magic eight ball, how's this going to turn out? And she says, and it says, outlook good. So she kind of gets a momentary reprieve from her drama. And then we do the most exciting thing of all. We have Aidan call her. Now, in the writing room, we're very aware of the traps we've set up for ourselves. And one of them is that Aidan said, I'll see you in 5 years. And we did not want to make the audience wait. And a lot of people said to me, so what, you're going to jump ahead 5 years? Next year is like 5 years later? No. So we have Aidan break the rule, which is thrilling
and validating.
Destructive.
Yeah, but also totally validating.
Yes.
Carrie's
she's right.
theory, right?
Well, it
She's like,
also, the rules break. He calls from the truck in what we have called, when we filmed it, Masturbation Hill in Virginia. He calls, we went, to Virginia to film Masturbation Hill. You see Aidan in the truck. He's drunk and sexy, and Carrie asleep. And he does something that we've never seen Carrie do, which is phone sex. And I felt like, okay.
And this is an example of the genre that, Michael, you have taught me, which is a scene that is sexy, and you think like, oh my, are we just going to be in this sexy moment? And then it turns comedy when he leans on the horn and scares himself.
Yeah, you can't just have sex. Yeah. You can't, not on this show. That's called pornography. We got to do something else. And this wasn't romance. This was sex. He was saying things like, touch yourself. Are you inside yourself? And it was places we had never gone with Carrie and Aidan.
By the way, I love that Sarah Jessica made the choice that Carrie's like a terrible actress. Like, did you hear her orgasm?
Yes.
Her orgasm, literally, she said the words,
man.
oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness. Well, and then the other comedy.
And he didn't even
caught that.
Well, I mean,
unless
he's so desperate, and he actually makes a joke. He says, she says, why are you drinking outside? And he says, don't you mean Wyatt? Mm-hmm. So he's already kind of making, he's drunk, and he's making fun of it, and she says, laugh or cry. So then they start to masturbate, and he says, we can get back there, and she says, can we? And then
also just like think about how many questions that she has that she can't really ask because he's called her just in
the middle of the night in a
moment
sexual vibe. And of course, the other comedy of the scene is Shoo.
The cat, yeah.
Masturbating when a cat's looking at you or not. And it immediately shames Carrie, the prying cat eyes, and she fakes the orgasm as Aidan doesn't fake his. Speaking of phenomenal performers, and kind of save the best for last, who does Miranda date in this episode? Who does Miranda date after she takes a swing in the bar way back, and she meets a lovely woman named Mary, played by the magnificent Rosie O'Donnell. And what we discover is this very honest, vulnerable woman. After they have sex, she tells Miranda, I'm a nun.
This is my first time with anyone. I'm a virgin. Well, I was a virgin.
You were a virgin?
Yes. I'm a nun.
You're a nun.
And this felt like the perfect way in talking about back to the Sex and the City, the things we could do then with these single women is we're going to do a classic Sex and the City
reveal
concept.
You're what?
Yeah.
You're a nun.
You're a nun. Miranda pulls the sheets gingerly up. But, you know.
We've never seen Miranda take anyone's virginity before, so it was really fun.
I mean, and it also does the other thing that I love so much. First of all, Rosie is, she played it so real.
Yeah.
Samantha, you said you were you were expecting kind of a different take, and then you got this.
Yeah, I thought she was going to be like, oh my God. I mean, no offense to you, Rosie, but how she now is like hip and cool Rosie with the hair and the little glasses. Like, I was expecting that, and she's like so plain and looks so regular and normal that it caught me off guard, and I loved it. Because, of course, you would expect like the cool nun to, have gay sex, but I like that it was like a librarian-looking nun.
A tourist. The idea that Miranda hooks up with a tourist is like, and it gets us really back to the essence. Carrie falls in her gorgeous house. And Carrie's running around that house. We wanted people to see the extent and the volume of that house. So Carrie running around like Carol Ann and Poltergeist, running around that house with her blonde hair and that nightie, and upstairs, downstairs. And the other thing we want you to hear subtly when she's talking to the alarm company, she says, my password is Carrie and Aidan. That's kind of a commitment.
Says it all.
That says it all.
That's not 5 years talking.
No, my password is Carrie and Aidan. And then you see Carrie, she falls, so Miranda comes over, and they're in that amazing little thin kitchen, which I love is my favorite
love it so
room
much.
in the house,
yeah.
Carrie's kitchen. And they're doing Carrie Miranda talking about dating a tourist. And to me, it's pure Carrie Miranda.
Totally. And pure Sex in the City, too.
So Miranda has this ongoing terrible text chain thing with Mary the nun, and it winds up culminating in the Red Rooster, which is why I brought it up last. But we're in the Red Rooster. They're doing a cappella. Anthony confesses that he should have never opened his mouth. Carrie forgives him. And
but also shares the new idea for the season, which is she has doubt too. She's not. And then we're about to see the manifestation
does she have
of
doubt?
that.
I think she has doubt after that second phone call. What she really
Yeah,
said,
well, I'm interested in what your interpretation
I
was.
think in that moment when she says you're not the only one, don't you think she deep down doesn't know what the hell she signed up for?
Not
Isn't
yet.
that where we're going?
No, she says
Wait,
you're
you
not.
don't think
the
after
episode?
the phone call that she wasn't like,
I
what
think
are we
after the
doing
phone
here?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
she's like, what's going on?
Well, she says to
She
the ladies,
behaved in a way she never would have. Like that to me was the tell when she says like
Yeah, she doesn't want to be doing that.
well, that's what
for
she
5
says.
years.
Literally, she says, and I think it's an important line
Exactly.
to Miranda and Charlotte.
our sex life was
Our
the most
sex
honest.
life is the most honest thing about us, which I think will really go well in this season because that's something we've never said. It's the most honest thing about them. And people talk about what do Carrie and Aidan have, and there's something that is unspoken between them. It's not necessarily always good on paper the way Big was. But they have something deeply connecting. And so at the Red Rooster, we find out, that she feels that she wronged their relationship. And after Miranda goes to Times Square to meet Rosie
At the M&M store.
and basically says
outside the M&M
outside
store.
the M&M store, Mary and Miranda get it, as Mary says. I bought you M&Ms custom made. But the reality is, Mary asked her to spend another night, and Miranda says something that I love. I mean, I've been on a crazy journey, and I just got out of that. So whatever you do, don't
Leave God for me.
And then I love that Miranda was so worried about, she's a nice, good person. She didn't want to hurt this other nice, good person. And then I love that Rosie, Mary, gives her the gift of like, honey, I'm not leaving God.
Well,
I'm
the
married.
important thing about the character is anyone who is queer or has been raised knowing that there's another self inside them that they can't let out, like me. The idea that Mary says, I always knew this person was there, and thanks to you, now I've met her. That doesn't mean you have to change who your life is or who you are.
You
It
don't
just
owe me
means you
anything.
finally met the person you've been repressing. And the idea that Miranda, who's been repressed in her marriage, the true self and what she had in Brooklyn, she liberated herself from that. And the first act that she sort of does is liberate somebody else by having a relationship with her for a night is really kind of special to me. And the fact that what we're saying is that just because you're queer doesn't mean you can't still serve God or be with God. Or who knows if Mary's ever going to have another night again, or if she's just going to have met this. She had a one-night stand with herself, maybe.
Right.
You know, who
And
knows?
live more authentically and whatever that means.
She knows
Yeah.
the thing that was underneath is now brought to the surface. And as she says, it was so electric and somehow natural. So to me, that's the whole reason to bring a character in like Mary, played by Rosie, so sweetly and authentically, is that the show's always been about liberating yourself from the constraints of society. What society says, if you're a woman, you should be this. If you're single, you should be married. If you're 50, you should dress like this. Don't put that hat on. If you're, the show.
If you're married, you should have a baby.
Don't have a one-night
Yeah.
stand.
If you have a dog, you should know everything about it. No, you don't. There's always surprises and learning and traits. So, I mean, that's the thing about the show. Each character sort of brings into focus other people's growths. If we're charting the journey, that's it. And then Carrie decides to grow up and go home to Aidan and admit
And try to get that back.
the sex,
the honesty.
to correct it
Yeah.
by actually having phone sex. And that's a big step for her. She tells the truth. I wasn't there, but now I am. And then she says things like, are you touching yourself? Are you touching yourself? Which is very off a high dive for her.
Yeah.
She's
That's
out there.
pushing her comfort
She
zone.
is
Yeah.
out there as a character saying, I couldn't be more open and vulnerable. This is how much I want us to get connected again.
And then gets shut down.
Yeah.
And another
shockingly shut down.
cream pied.
Another cream pie, but even worse. 'Cause
Not the good
he
kind.
says, I'm in bed with Wyatt. What? He had a rough night. And we see
The perfect illustration of Aidan when it was good for him and the timing was good and he was feeling it and he was drunk
outside his house.
He was,
Yeah.
It was on his terms.
Totally.
He called her, and now when she calls him, it's not a good time.
Yeah, no, because of the
Click.
family again. And the other thing is the alarm goes off. Now, what's interesting about the alarm, and the first time it goes off, it's comedy. She's running around because alarms go off all the time and you don't know how to do them. And in any new house, there's all sorts of malfunctions. But look at the subliminal story we're telling from the writing room. There's an alarm going off that she can't stop. Why is the alarm going off? Does she need to learn something, but she doesn't know? And after she hangs up on Aidan, the alarm goes off again. And it's so infuriating because it really is. There's an alarm going off in her relationship,
Well, and also
she can
this,
hear it.
This false sense of security. Like she has this security system and
that
it's
doesn't work.
completely
And she had a
broken.
security system
sensors.
believing it was all going to work with Aidan. So she gets out of bed. She cannot sleep. She turns off the alarm and she goes to her computer and opens her laptop and starts writing. And this is the most thrilling thing that we came up with in the writing room, I think, the biggest swing. Carrie is writing her thought for the first time that she hasn't said to anyone, which is the woman wondered what she had gotten herself into.
And she's never written in the third person, and she's never written fiction, at
And
least
this
in
was
our
our decision
world.
that Carrie has feelings that are so deep and personal that she won't even tell her friends. She does, because they involve Aidan, she doesn't want to expose herself. So it's our first...
Let alone her audience, like the people who don't know
And
her.
herself.
And herself. She even
She's
says
protecting herself. Yeah.
But it's an impulse and it's a sentence that comes out of her consciousness, subconsciousness, elemental air around her. The woman wondered what she'd gotten into. And what we wanted to do was to say, uh-oh.
And this was another big conversation we had because in the prior seasons, we were ending with, and just like that, every episode ended with that voiceover. We decided no voiceover for the new series.
No, it just like that.
And but then for this season, it was like let's break the rules and write a new
we
one.
get into the voiceover in the next episode, but in this one, it's the first rule we broke, which is we're not just saying "and just like that" anymore. Which is like if you're writing a show and you're going along seasonally, you're on the road. Every now and then you have to say, "Let's not go there again. We've been to that road too many times. Let's not go down there." So the first thing we made for this season was she's writing without
She
any...
doesn't know what the
She's
end
writing.
just like that would be.
No.
She doesn't even know. So
She doesn't
it's-
even know. But we do.
Mm-hmm.
We do. And as you go along, you'll see what we thought on our journey. And just like that, we've reached the end of our first episode of season 3. We had a wonderful time talking to each other. I hope you enjoyed talking to us. Thank you, Samantha.
Thank you for
Great
having
to
me.
see you, Sam.
Julie.
Thank you.
Elisa.
Come
Thank
back.
you
Come
very
back for
much
next
for
episode.
listening.
We'll be back next week to unpack episode 2 of season 3, The Rat Race. And you can stream new episodes of In Just Like That Thursdays on Max. And Just Like That, The Writer's Room is produced by Sony Music Podcasts for Max. At Sony, Sharon Morris is the executive producer, Gianna Palmer is the lead producer, Sammy Allison is head of production. Tamika Balance-Kalasny is our production manager, and Sam Baer is our engineer. Special thanks to Becky Rowe, Allison Cohen-Sorokach, Kenya Reyes, and Aaron Kelly from the Max podcast team. Thank you for listening.